Hi everyone, welcome. We're down here in my wormery, and a lot of these things are pretty recognizable by this time if you're a viewer of my channel. More and more of these napkins, but it's funny, with these 4 yellow napkins getting used up today, I believe that yellow is no longer the dominant color of napkin that I have. I think it might be orange. Orange might be the next most dominant color, and usually when you think about carrots, orange is the dominant color that you think about. But for some time now, I've been feeding these so-called rainbow carrots. I don't know how it is that it took this long to finally get to the end of what was in that bag. So some of them are in here, and in the beginning I thought that these were not orange due to the fact that maybe they were very spoiled already. But I guess these were really just meant to be some other color, you know. Some coffee and a little bit of leftover, what was this? Tomato paste. I saw that there's a little bit of sodium in there. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's such a good idea, but we shall see. I don't know. We'll take our chances. So this is the start of the show. We're starting into another fabric test, and in the past I've done t-shirts, socks, beach towel, I don't even know, maybe even other things that are all cotton. I've never done, so far, this is my first try at a fabric other than cotton, and in this case we have ourselves a nice wool sweater, which in a whole lot of places you could see where the moths have gotten to it, so the thing's riddled with holes all over the place. Some of them are quite big in size too, look at that. So that's what we're going to deal with, but since it's a pair of brother bins, or whatever you want to refer to them as, we're going to have to share. So this sweater is going to get cut right down the middle so that we can give one half to one of the bins and the other half to the other bin. So whatever, I think enough talk. Time to get those bins out here and get them fed. All right, now we've got 2 halves of this garment, and they're almost identical with the exception of one item, which is the care tag showing that we're dealing with a wool garment here. So bin number 1 will get the tag, bin number 2 will not get the tag. So let's get to feeding. So my idea for bedding today, even though I've got my prepared bedding on the side, between those large, luxurious napkins, of which I plan to put 2 into each system, there's also the matter of these coffee filters. Let's see how it goes. I guess we'll start with making fairly good size trenches in both systems, because I'd really like to be able to spread the garment out nicely. Let's see, we gave them celery last time, if I'm not mistaken. We're starting to bump into some little worm parties happening down here. Perhaps they're still working down some of whatever it is that we fed them 10 days ago, which was when we last checked in on these little guys. The material here, it all feels quite nice and comfortable and moist. The worms look pretty healthy and lively. Alright, well, you know, when I breezed through the video from the last check-in, the types of foods that we gave them last time did seem like stuff that would be pretty easy for them to eat, and possibly the stuff that wouldn't even leave leftovers after only 10 days. So maybe we'll see some signs of what we gave them last time. Maybe we'll just see big piles of worms in the place of where the food was, patting their bellies, saying to themselves, "Ooh, that was yummy. Give me more, boss." So now there is stuff here that feels a little bit slimy, like maybe this could be some sort of a leftover fragment of food or whatever. Let's make a nice big hole like we said earlier. Yeah, I believe that other than that little tiny thing that I was kind of pinching between my fingers a moment ago, which felt a little, you know, squishy, and then even its color looked a little, I don't even know what color it was, yellowish or something. It seemed like it could have been some sort of a food. item that they're still working on, but I would say for the most part, whatever it is that we fed them 10 days ago, they've pretty much done away with it. Very nice, very nice. I think we've got enough room down here. Now, I think one thing I've done in the past when I've done these little tests of composting fabrics is that I've done stupid maneuvers, and I'll admit it freely. I'll say it out loud. Like one thing I think I did pretty recently, even, which I think could have put a pretty good sized delay into the overall breakdown process, was just leaving the t-shirts or whatever it is, maybe a fabric piece of towel, I forget what it was, but for whatever reason I believe I started out with the things that we were trying to compost by just having them resting out on the surface rather than having them right down in the feeding zone where there's going to be tons of traffic, tons of worm activity, more likelihood of the stuff getting nibbled away. So I believe that that's one mistake I'm going to not make this time. I believe we might even just start by putting the fabric in as the starting layer so that all kinds of goodness and juices and everything can flow down into it. Or I don't know, maybe positioning it somewhere more middle of the feeding zone would be even better, because then it seems like if it was at the very bottom, there'd be maybe the likelihood of less traffic being able to access it from underneath. It's funny. It's a chestnut. Well, the chestnut that was inside has been long gone, but the shell is holding up pretty good, and there's little worms hanging out in there like it's their private little clubhouse. What's this? This looks like the end of a carrot. At least it's not trying to grow. Alright, so we found a little bit of leftover this and that, but certainly not much. Let's get to feeding. So bin number 2, I believe, was the one that does not get the what? No, you know what? Let's do that idea that we mentioned earlier. The whole idea of kind of positioning the fabric somewhere more middle of the feeding zone rather than at the very bottom layer. So perhaps we'll start out with the old feeding zone indicators, since we've got replacements for them. Putting these feeding zone indicators to a much more noble purpose. And then perhaps also a foundational layer of napkin beneath each feeding zone. And now, even before we come in here with the fabric, I believe from below it would be a good idea to have some food. So why don't we just go right ahead and give them their coffee, onto which we can come in with the fabric now, I think. Is that a good idea? I'm also thinking, this being dry, perhaps another smart thing to do would be to come in here and spray the wool so that it's got a little bit of a moisture content to it, instead of just sitting here dry, wicking moisture from its surroundings. It'll go into the bin with its own moisture content. I'm assuming it's going to absorb moisture. It appears to be doing so. And this diluted tomato sauce, tomato paste, it's not a paste anymore. I was tempted just to spill it right onto the fabric. I don't know, I just feel like I don't want to totally spoil it, so why don't we back up just a moment, and well, you know what, we just rested the fabric into the tomato, hopefully making it into a now marinated piece of material that the worms are going to have even more interest in digging their fangs into. Well, not fangs, whatever it is that they're using to consume their foods. And perhaps even another, I don't know. I'm starting to second guess myself. Perhaps it is best that we get right to the main event here. If we really want to try to attract attention towards the fabric, perhaps putting the main dish right there is also the way to go. So I think that that might be possibly the optimal arrangement. And you know, I didn't know how much space that sweater was going to take, so I didn't really expect we'd be putting much in, if any at all. But you know what? Let's just drop in a little bit of my prepared bedding too. This stuff definitely doesn't need any moisture because it's going in pretty sopping wet. So I don't think we'll have to sweat bringing back the spray bottle to account for the for that last napkin we dropped in that was just going in dry. No big deal. So you know, I thought about maybe excavating the outer edges of the systems, but even in another couple bins that I checked in on just the other day, I just decided, you know, let's not do that. Let's leave the outer edges be for maybe 1 or 2 feedings if we remember. Something I used to do here and there, which would be just to leave the outer edges undisturbed so they can really just do their thing out there, you know. And even without my ever-present monitoring and probing and examining and everything else I do, they do just fine. They do just fine without me, you know. Before bringing that newspaper in at the very end, I can't resist. I just feel like doing a little bit of this too as a top covering, just a dressing here, because on will come that pretty damp piece of newspaper we removed in the beginning, and then on will come the plastic to kind of cap everything off. So I believe that these pieces of, or these little bits of dry leafy matter are not going to, you know, drastically absorb a bunch of moisture from their surroundings. I think we're going to have a nice cozy environment here. You saw how long I was running that spray bottle for. It didn't have a lot of pressure, you know, so that might have been the reason I ran it for such a long time. But I do have this sort of kick going on lately, I've noticed, where I think some people have even started commenting about how my spray bottle is like my most prized possession down here in my wormery. And maybe, you know, during the winter time, maybe that's true, because if it weren't for that, I'd be dispensing moisture 1 squirt squeeze with my fingers at a time, and that's a drag. Kind of nice having that pressurized vessel in the spray bottle. That's the way to go for sure, unless you got something even better than that. So that's it for the check-in, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.